Lena liked to run where she was not supposed to run. The colony stood on wide metal platforms above red dust and sharp stone. Pipes crossed the roofs like metal vines. Storage towers rose, thin and tall. Warning lights blinked everywhere. Most people walked on marked paths and followed the rules. Lena did not. She knew which roofs were safe, which rails were loose, and which walls could be climbed if she moved fast enough. The morning air was dry and clear. 2 small moons were still fading in the pale sky. Lena had just finished a short delivery shift at the supply yard. Her job was done, and now she was bored. Boredom was always dangerous for her. It often turned into a race against something. She noticed the sanitation drone near a waste unit. It hovered quietly and scanned labels with a soft blue light. The drone was not made to chase people, but it had a loudspeaker and a strong memory for faces. Lena already had 3 unpaid fines for climbing restricted areas. She smiled when she saw it. Milo's voice came through her ear chip. He liked to watch public camera feeds when he had nothing to do. "Don't even think about it," he said. "I know that look." "You cannot see my face," Lena replied while stepping backward toward a low ladder fixed to a supply tower. "I can hear the trouble," Milo said. "Please go home like a normal person today." Lena grabbed the ladder and began to climb. The metal felt warm from the early sun. She pulled herself onto the top of the tower and stood up straight. From up there she could see most of the colony. Containers stood in rows. Antenna dishes turned slowly. Far in the distance, the tall, smooth wall of the alien military zone cut a straight line across the view. The drone tilted upward and noticed her. A sharp tone sounded. A red light began to blink. "Citizen, you are in a restricted position. Please descend immediately or a fine will be issued," the drone announced in a calm voice. Lena bowed toward it in an exaggerated way. "Too slow," she said, and ran across the top of the tower. Its speaker grew louder as it repeated the warning. "This is your last warning." Her boots hit the metal with a loud sound and she kept moving. She did not look back. The drone floated after her, now sounding a repeating alarm that echoed between the buildings. Milo sighed in her ear. "You are going to get another fine. Only if it catches me," she answered. She loved this part. The running, the planning, the quick choices. She knew the rooftops better than the ground paths. She leaped over pipes, ducked under cables, and slid across a slanted panel. The drone stayed above her like a patient bird. Ahead of her was a wide gap that ended near the tall wall of the alien military zone. Most humans avoided that area. They were allowed to walk near it, but not inside. The aliens liked their own space quiet and orderly. Lena slowed for a brief moment when she saw how close she was getting. "Maybe turn left," Milo suggested. "Too easy," she replied. She ran faster. On the other side of the wall, inside the alien barracks, Corporal Derek was finishing his slow morning patrol. He was tall, with long-jointed legs and dark armor plates across his chest and shoulders. His species did not blink often, so his eyes stayed wide and steady as he watched the outer wall through a narrow viewing slit. The morning had been peaceful. The human colony made noise most days, but this section was quiet. He liked this post because nothing ever happened here. Then he heard a strange echoing alarm. It was not from their system. He turned slightly and checked the wall sensors. Movement. Fast movement. Faster than normal walking. He signaled 2 other guards to stand beside him. They all watched the display. A small human figure appeared on top of the outer structures. It moved in short bursts and then long jumps. The guards leaned closer. "Is that a human?" one asked. "Yes," Derek answered. "But why is it moving like that? No tools, no pack, just speed and balance." The alarm from the drone grew louder. Derek did not know that sound, which made him more alert. Then the human ran straight toward their wall. Derek's hand moved to his weapon. "Alert the commander," he said. Lena saw the wall getting closer very quickly. It was taller than the other barriers and smooth from top to bottom. She had never tried to cross it before. Normally she would stop and change direction, but the drone was right above her now and she could already imagine the fine notice added to her account. She made a fast decision. She had distance. She had jumped worse things before. "Lena, do not even think about it," Milo said loudly. She thought about it. She ran. Her boots hit the last roof with force. She pushed hard with both legs and launched herself forward. For a short second she was only in the air. No roof, no wall, no ground. Only wind and the red sky behind her. Inside the barracks, 3 alien guards watched without moving as the human body rose above the top of the wall. It did not slow down. It did not reach for support. It cleared the entire height in one smooth arc. Lena landed inside their perimeter with a loud metal crash and rolled once to absorb the force. She stood up quickly and brushed dust off her jacket as if nothing unusual had happened. All around her, alarms exploded to life. Red lights flashed. Doors sealed shut. Weapons lifted and pointed at her from several directions. Lena blinked and looked around. Gray buildings, armored soldiers, marked lines on the ground. She slowly understood where she had landed. "Oh," she said quietly. Derek stepped forward with his weapon raised but not fired. He had never seen anything like this. No species in the Alliance could jump that high without mechanical help. "Do not move," he ordered in careful trade language. Lena raised her hands at once. "Sorry. I did not mean to be here. I was just avoiding a fine." "You crossed a secured military barrier," Derek said. "Yes. I can see that now. Is there a door I can use to leave?" More soldiers arrived and formed a wide circle around her, keeping distance as if she might leap again at any moment. The drone hovered outside the wall, unable to follow. Its alarm slowly faded away in the distance. Commander Voss arrived within minutes. He walked with slow control, his eyes studying Lena from head to toe. He had already watched the camera replay twice while walking here. He had paused the exact moment where her body was above the wall. No equipment, no visible support, only muscle and timing. "You will explain how you entered this area," Voss said. Lena pointed behind her. "I jumped." Voss waited for more words. None came. "From where?" he asked. "From that roof," she replied. "I was running from a drone." Voss glanced at Derek. Derek slowly shook his head. He had seen humans walking, talking, working, and carrying tools. He had never seen one move like this. "Restrain her," Voss ordered. 2 guards stepped forward very carefully and placed a light restraint band around Lena's wrists. She did not resist. She looked more confused and afraid. Milo's voice whispered in her ear, "Please tell me you did not just jump into the alien base." She whispered back, "I think I did. I do not want to be part of this," Milo said. They guided Lena into a smooth gray room with a single table and 2 chairs. A camera watched from the ceiling. Voss stood across from her. "State your purpose," he said. "I told you. I was running from a fine drone. It gives tickets for being in high places. You risked entering a military zone to avoid a small penalty?" "Yes. Fines are annoying." Voss studied her face carefully. He saw no fear, no anger, and no sign of guilt, only mild embarrassment. He replayed the jump again on his tablet. He slowed it down frame by frame. Her legs pushed off strongly. Her body stayed tight and balanced. She cleared the barrier like it was a low fence. "How long have you trained to do this?" he asked. "I do not train. I just climb things." "For what purpose?" "Fun." Voss stayed silent for several seconds. Fun was not a word often used in military reports. He contacted Central Command. "Send me all files on human physical capability," he said quietly. Outside the room, Derek spoke with the other guards. "Did you see how easily she landed? No injury, no hesitation." "Maybe she is a soldier," one guard suggested. Derek shook his head. "Her clothes are civilian. Her shoes are worn. She has done this many times before." Inside the room, Lena tapped her fingers on the table. "Am I in big trouble?" Voss looked at her. That depends on what this action represents." She frowned. "It represents that I do not like fines." Voss did not smile. He sent the jump footage to High Command with 1 line attached. "Human individual breached secured wall with no equipment." After watching it again, he added another line. "Movement appears controlled, practiced, and intentional." He leaned back and watched Lena through the glass wall. She swung her feet under the chair, already bored with waiting. Voss spoke softly to himself. This was not accidental. This was a reconnaissance maneuver. The aliens watched the human in confusion and fear. Commander Voss had the footage of Lena's jump on a glowing screen. He replayed it slowly, over and over. Every time he watched, the human cleared the wall with no equipment, no ropes, no wings, just legs and arms. To him, it was impossible. They gathered in the command room, a wide gray space with maps and screens. Derek stood quietly, his dark armor reflecting the faint red light. Other officers whispered and showed nervous gestures. None had seen a human move like this before. "We must consider that this species has hidden capabilities," Voss said firmly. "They may be capable of infiltration, reconnaissance, or even assault that exceeds our current understanding." "Commander, is it possible this is just an accident?" one officer asked. His voice was shaky. He did not want to admit that humans could be dangerous. Voss shook his head slowly. Accident does not explain the control. The speed. The landing. That was deliberate. Derek stepped forward. Commander, she is a civilian. I have studied human behavior. Their children climb, run, and jump. But never like this. Not in our observation records. Never inside secured zones. Voss nodded. This must be documented. We will classify all humans as potential high-risk operatives until we know more. Send the footage to Central Command with all observations noted. Meanwhile, Lena was sitting in the gray room, her hands lightly restrained. She was tired of waiting and bouncing her fingers on the table. She looked at the cameras, then at the walls, then back at the door. Milo's voice came quietly through her ear chip. You might have started a war. She shrugged. I just jumped the wall. It is not a big deal.
Not a big deal?
They are armed and looking terrified. Lena giggled. That is funny. In the control room, the alien officers continued to debate. One officer brought up reports from previous encounters. Humans are fragile. They are slow, weak. They are not a military threat. Voss slammed his clawed hand on the table. This one human disproves everything, do you not see? Our assumptions are wrong. This species has physical potential we have never measured. We must observe carefully. Every citizen. He turned to Derek. Start daily monitoring, track humans in all colonies, measure their jumps, climbs, and speed. Record any unusual activity. Derek nodded and left the room to organize the surveillance teams. He knew this would be difficult. Humans were unpredictable. They did not follow routines and often acted by instinct or curiosity. Back in the gray room, Lena had stood up and was pacing slowly. When do I get to go? She asked. Voss entered, his tall frame casting a long shadow. He did not smile. You will remain until we are satisfied that you pose no immediate threat. Immediate threat? Lena said. I was running from a drone, that is all. Voss studied her expression carefully. She was calm, almost bored. There was no fear in her eyes. None of the humans in the records had reacted this way under observation. Most species showed fear when confronted with weapons. Lena did not. Do you understand your actions were considered dangerous? Voss asked. Lena tilted her head. Dangerous to who? I just jumped a wall. Voss sighed. You misunderstand. To your species, perhaps it is a simple act, but to us, it is a display of capability far beyond what we expect from humans. Lena blinked. So, I am famous now? Voss did not answer. The alien officers began studying human physiology more closely. They measured the average jump height, muscle structure, and reflex speed. They compared these with the footage of Lena. Nothing matched. No human should be able to move with such precision and power. They brought in reports of children running and climbing for fun. Voss watched carefully. There were similarities, but the scale was different. Lena had control, timing, and judgment that made her act like a trained operative, even if she had never trained. Derek returned to the control room. Commander, other humans are climbing, running, and exploring too. The pattern repeats. Simple movements, yes, but their balance and reflexes are higher than expected. Voss leaned back in his chair. They are unpredictable. We cannot underestimate them. We must prepare for any situation. Outside, humans continued their lives unaware of the fear inside the barracks. Children raced on rooftops, adults carried out deliveries, and teenagers like Lena found paths others never tried. Every jump, every run was now potentially observed and classified. Inside the gray room, Lena yawned and stretched. So what now? Am I a hero? Or am I a criminal? Voss looked at her, his eyes calculating. Perhaps. You are a specimen of interest. Not because of training or intent, but because of potential. You represent what humans can do naturally. Lena shrugged. I am just me. I do not plan to fight anyone. I just move. Voss turned back to the screen, replaying the jump one more time. This species, if they act together, could change the balance of power. Their civilians already possess abilities that rival trained soldiers of many species. Derek leaned forward. Commander, what should we do with the footage? Voss replied. Archive it. Study it. Send it to High Command. Alert all nearby colonies to monitor human activity. We cannot ignore this. In the gray room, Lena waited, tapping her fingers on the table. She wondered why the alien seemed so nervous. To her, jumping and climbing was normal, fun, even. She did not understand the fear again. You have no idea what you have started. I am starting nothing. I am bored and running. That is all, Lena said. The aliens continued to discuss human capabilities. They debated whether humans were naturally dangerous, whether their children trained secretly, or whether this was a rare anomaly. Every officer had a theory, and each one was more alarming than the last. Voss finally spoke. Prepare for all possibilities. Treat every human as a potential operative. Observe them and do not underestimate them. Derek and the other officers nodded solemnly. They knew the human had done nothing with intent, yet her simple action had shifted their perception. She had jumped a wall, and in doing so she had changed the way they saw an entire species. Lena, still sitting with her hands lightly restrained, yawned and stretched again. She could not understand why so many adults were talking quietly and nervously about a simple jump. To her, the day was normal. The jump was fun. The drone was annoying. That was all. Voss filed the final report with high command. He wrote every detail, every observation, and every replay of Lena's jump. His last note read, "Humans appear fragile, yet certain individuals display physical capability that is unexpected. Monitor all humans. Treat with caution." Lena, meanwhile, leaned back in her chair and waited. She did not know that her small act of running and jumping had made the aliens fear an entire species. She only knew she wanted to avoid another fine. And maybe, just maybe, she wanted to try another jump soon. Captain Rourke walked briskly through the alien barracks, his hands held behind his back. The hallways were wide and metallic, with soft red lights glowing along the walls. Every step echoed. He had dealt with misunderstandings before, but nothing like this. A simple jump by a human girl had turned into a serious problem. The aliens now thought humans were trained for war, even though Lena had done nothing but run for fun. He reached the gray room where Lena sat. Her hands were lightly restrained, but she had already removed her jacket and was leaning back in the chair, looking bored. Milo's voice whispered through her ear chip, worried and full of nervous energy. "Captain, please tell me we are not having a diplomatic incident over a jump." Rourke smiled, though it was tense. "Unfortunately, Milo, we are. The aliens have sent reports to their central command. They believe your friend here represents human military training." Lena raised her eyebrows. "Me? Military? I just jumped a wall." Rourke nodded. "I know, but to them it looks like a special operation. We have to explain before things get worse." He turned to the monitoring screen. The footage of Lena's jump played again. Derek and other officers had already watched it dozens of times. They studied her posture, her landing, and the way she moved. Rourke sighed. He knew no explanation would be simple. The aliens were not used to humans moving like this. A few minutes later, Commander Voss entered the room. His tall frame and serious expression made Lena sit up a little straighter. He studied her silently before speaking. "Human, state your purpose for being in this area." "I already told you. I was avoiding a drone fine," Lena said calmly. Voss frowned. "Avoiding a fine led you to breach a secured military zone. This action is highly irregular." "It was just running," Lena said. "I did not plan anything." Voss looked at Rourke. "Captain, you must explain human behavior. They cannot perceive the danger of entering secured zones." Rourke nodded. "Yes, Commander. Humans, especially teenagers, often act on impulse. They climb, run, and explore for fun. They do not have hidden military training. It is natural movement, not combat strategy." The alien officers exchanged uncertain looks. Derek stepped forward. "Commander, their movements are precise. Even for casual action, the control is extraordinary." Rourke rubbed his temples. "I understand. But they are not trained to fight? They are not soldiers. Are young humans playing? This behavior does not seem playful. It seems calculated. If we are to believe your words, it is accidental?" "Accidental?" Lena asked. "I did not think about it. I just jumped." "Your species' children may have physical ability that surprises us," Voss said. "But if one can move like this, what else can they do?" Rourke tried to calm the room. "Commander, they are children. Their abilities are natural. Humans grow up in a gravity environment that requires balance and movement. What you saw was instinct and practice through daily activity." The officers studied him with skepticism. They were worried. They had never encountered a species with such unexpected skill. To them, even an untrained human seemed dangerous. Voss made a decision. "Request a demonstration. If this human can perform more actions under observation, we must document them." Rourke's eyes widened. "A demonstration?" Commander, she is a civilian. This will only escalate tensions. Voss's eyes narrowed. It is necessary. We must understand potential threats. Lena laughed softly. Demonstration? What do you mean? Rourke sighed. You are going to have to show them you are just a normal human, not some trained operative. Fine, I can climb. I can jump. I do it all the time. The aliens prepared a small observation area. It had vertical walls, railings, and a few gaps for Lena to jump. Cameras recorded every angle. The guards moved back to give her space. Rourke stood beside her. Remember, this is just to show them. Be careful, but do not try to impress them. Lena nodded and took a short run. She climbed the wall with ease, swung over the railings, and jumped small gaps. Her movements were precise but natural. She made a few mistakes, slipped slightly, then corrected herself without losing balance. She laughed softly, enjoying herself. The aliens recorded everything, whispering among themselves. Voss watched closely. Each time she landed, he noted her balance and timing. Her speed, her reflexes, her flexibility, all were unusual. After several minutes, Lena stopped and looked at Rourke. Done. Happy now? Voss looked at her with a serious expression. Interesting. Your control is extraordinary, but your mistakes suggest this is natural, not deliberate training. Rourke nodded in relief. Yes. Commander, this is typical human behavior. They have natural ability, not combat skills. Voss continued to study the footage. Even natural, it is still impressive. If humans were ever trained together, their potential would be significant. We understand. But these are civilians. They do not intend harm. They recorded all the movements and notes. Every small jump, every slip, every correction was carefully logged. They debated how to report this to Central Command. Outside, other humans continued daily life. Children climbed roofs and ran across rooftops. Some teens followed Lena's example, testing jumps and railings. None of them knew that their simple play had caused tension in a military barracks. Inside, Lena leaned back in her chair, brushing dust from her clothes. That was fun, she said. Rourke shook his head. You have no idea what you have started. Voss finally spoke to the officers. Prepare reports. Document every observed human movement. Note the potential for balance, strength, and agility. The species must be studied carefully. Derek and the other guards nodded. They understood the seriousness. One simple jump had changed their perception of an entire species. They had never seen movement like this. Even accidental actions by humans could not be ignored. We will leave soon, but you must understand, your actions have caused fear, not because you intended harm, but because of what you can do naturally. So, I am dangerous because I am normal? Rourke smiled tiredly. Exactly. To them, your normal is extraordinary. Voss filed his final observations with High Command. His notes detailed every movement and every jump. He concluded that humans could have high potential for physical skill, even without training. Their natural abilities were unpredictable. Each human could be a surprise. Lena yawned and stretched in her chair. She did not understand the seriousness of the situation. To her, she had simply moved the way humans moved every day. The aliens, however, would never see her species the same way again. One jump had changed the balance of perception, and even simple human play had become something extraordinary in their eyes. Milo whispered in her ear one last time. Next time, maybe avoid military walls. She smiled. Where's the fun in that? The news spread fast among the alien forces. A human had jumped a wall inside a secured military zone. To the aliens, it was more than a simple accident. It was a demonstration of physical skill far beyond their understanding. Reports traveled to nearby bases, then to Central Command. Every officer who saw the footage reacted with concern. Discussions about humans changed overnight. They were no longer seen as fragile or weak. They were potential threats. Commander Voss called a meeting with his senior staff. The command room was filled with monitors showing humans from different colonies. Voss tapped a screen showing Lena and other young humans practicing climbing, running, and jumping. Observe this closely, he said. Their natural abilities are far beyond what we expected. If even a fraction of them move this way, they could challenge trained forces. Commander, these are children. They do not understand strategy or combat. Voss shook his head. Do not underestimate instinct. Even untrained, their agility, speed, and balance make them unpredictable. We must assume worst case. Prepare for all possibilities. Outside the barracks, humans went about their daily life. Children played, adults worked, and teenagers like Lena tested paths and obstacles. Some copied Lena's daring jumps. She had become a subtle inspiration without realizing it. Every leap, slide, and climb was now observed by alien sensors. Every small act seemed dangerous in their eyes. Rourke returned to the human colony to advise Lena. He knew that the situation had grown far beyond her simple actions. "You need to be careful," he said. "They are watching. Even small jumps make them nervous." Lena laughed softly. "I am always careful. I just like to run and climb." Rourke shook his head. "Your normal is now a problem for them." Back in the barracks, aliens started new drills. Guards practiced observing and predicting human movement. They simulated jumps and climbs of different heights. Officers measured human speed and reflexes. Every scenario was rehearsed. Training manuals were rewritten. Even their young soldiers were prepared to defend against what they now called vertical human assaults. Voss watched the exercises. Each simulation only increased their worry. Even small humans could leap, climb, or slide unpredictably. Their control and instinct made them dangerous, if not in attack, then in chaos. The potential alone was enough to change tactical thinking. Meanwhile, Lena grew restless. She had been returned to her colony, but news of her fame had spread. Other teenagers followed her example, racing across rooftops, jumping gaps, and trying new paths. Milo shook his head at the chaos. "You really started something," he said. "They are treating normal kids like elite soldiers." Lena shrugged. "I am just having fun." Rourke knew the misunderstanding would not end quickly. He was already preparing reports to calm the aliens. He tried to explain that human abilities were natural, playful, and not intended for combat. But each time he reported, the officers interpreted it as evidence of potential. Their imagination made them see a trained army where there was none. One day, a group of aliens visited the human training yard. They expected to see organized drills, strategy lessons, and coordinated attacks. Instead, they saw humans running, tripping, laughing, and helping each other up. They climbed walls and rails, missed jumps, corrected themselves, and continued without fear. Humans were not soldiers. They were persistent, curious, and unpredictable. Commander Voss observed quietly. He finally understood. Humans were not dangerous because they trained for war. They were dangerous because their everyday life, their play, and their instinct created a natural skill set far beyond other species. They adapted, improvised, and never gave up. Combat was simply where their natural abilities became visible. Derek whispered to another officer. "They are not soldiers. They are just themselves." "Exactly. And that is what makes them terrifying." Rourke turned to Lena. "Do you see now what you did? Your normal actions changed how they see your entire species."
Lena grinned.
"I just ran and jumped, that is all." The aliens continued their observation for weeks. They watched humans in every colony, noting agility, balance, and persistence. Reports piled up. Every misstep, every jump, every fall was logged. High Command debated strategy. They trained their soldiers, simulated defenses, and updated manuals. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability was dangerous. At night, Lena would sit on the roof with Milo and watch the stars. "Do you think they will calm down?" Milo asked. Lena laughed. "I doubt it. They will never understand humans. They think we train for war, but we just live." The aliens had begun to respect humans without realizing it. They feared them not because humans were trained, but because humans were alive in a way they could not predict. Every child, every adult, every playful jump became a lesson in adaptability, creativity, and courage. Commander Voss finally filed a report. "Humans do not prepare for combat. They prepare for life. Combat is simply where their preparation becomes visible. Their potential is extraordinary, and we must monitor with caution." Lena yawned on her rooftop. She did not know that her small acts of running and jumping had caused a major military response. To her, life was simple. To the aliens, life had become unpredictable and dangerous. And in that simple truth, humans had shown their strength without lifting a weapon. Commander Voss stood quietly in the observation room, watching the humans move. For weeks, alien forces had monitored colonies, watched children climb and jump, and studied adults and their daily routines. Every motion was logged, every leap noted. The aliens had expected soldiers, trained humans, a deliberate strategy behind each move. Instead, they found life itself. Lena stood on a low wall in the center of the human training yard. Milo was beside her, nervously watching the alien observers. Other humans moved around them, climbing walls, jumping small gaps, sliding under rails, and laughing. Some tripped, some fell, and some corrected themselves with ease. There was no order, no plan, no strategy, only humans being humans. Voss's eyes followed Lena as she crouched slightly, measured a small gap, and leaped. She landed cleanly, balanced perfectly, and continued running without pause. She did not try to impress the aliens. She was not aware of their scrutiny. Her actions were casual, instinctive, and playful. Commander, they are not soldiers. They are just living. Yes, and that is what makes them remarkable. Their strength is not in weapons or training. It is in adaptability, courage, and persistence. They live fully, and in doing so, they surpass what many species achieve through careful preparation. Rourke approached the observation room, his face tired but calm. It is what I've been trying to tell you. They are not preparing for combat. They are preparing for life. Combat is just one moment where their natural abilities become apparent. Voss turned to him. I see it now. Every leap, every climb, every small act shows skill far beyond our assumptions. It is not fearlessness alone. It is the combination of curiosity, play, and persistence. Even their mistakes reveal control and adaptation. Outside, humans continued their routines. Lena and her friends created small challenges for themselves. They raced across rooftops, jumped gaps, climbed railings, and encouraged each other. They laughed at failures, celebrated successes, and rarely stopped moving. The aliens watched every moment, documenting, analyzing, and slowly coming to a profound realization. Derek whispered again. They are dangerous without trying. Their preparation is life itself. Voss watched Lena run, leap over a small wall, and roll to absorb the landing. She glanced at Milo and smiled before running again. Her natural movement, instinctive and unplanned, amazed him. These humans were not trained. They were alive, and that made them unpredictable, adaptable, and formidable. Rourke approached Lena afterward. Do you understand why they fear you now? Lena shrugged. Not really. I just run and jump. That is all. Exactly. That is the point. You have shown them a natural skill set they cannot train. You have shown them what humans can do without even trying. Voss filed his final report to Central Command. It was detailed, precise, and carefully worded. He wrote of humans not as weak or fragile, but as adaptable and resilient. He noted that their natural instincts, play, and persistence created abilities that rivaled many trained species. The report concluded, humans do not prepare for combat, they prepare for life. Combat is only the place where that preparation becomes visible. Every human, young or old, displayed unpredictable potential that must be respected and monitored. Back in the yard, Lena stood on the edge of a small platform. Milo whispered nervously, You know they are watching every move, right? I know, but I'm not trying to show off. I am just moving. Milo shook his head. Moving has changed how the galaxy sees humans. One jump, and they think you are an elite operative. She laughed. Then maybe it is fun being dangerous without knowing it. Voss watched silently, finally understanding the truth about humans. They were not extraordinary because they trained for war. They were extraordinary because they lived fully, embraced challenges, and never gave up. Their courage, creativity, and determination were natural. Every child who ran, jumped, or climbed, every adult who adapted to the unexpected displayed these traits without realizing it. The alien forces continued their observation, but now with respect rather than fear. They understood that humans could not be fully predicted, controlled, or measured. Their normal life created extraordinary potential. Voss summarized his understanding to his officers. Do not see humans as soldiers yet to train. See them as a species that lives fully. Their potential is not in preparation, but in their very existence. They are unpredictable, adaptable, and resilient. That is what makes them formidable. Derek nodded slowly. They are not dangerous because they plan. They are dangerous because they live. The humans continued, unaware of the impression they had made. Lena ran, jumped, and laughed. Milo followed her, cautious but smiling. Children and adults alike moved with the same curiosity and energy. The aliens recorded every moment, learning and slowly accepting that life itself had given humans an edge they could not replicate. In the quiet of the observation room, Voss looked at Lena on the screen and whispered, This is the species we have underestimated. Not because they trained, not because they fought, but because they lived with courage, curiosity, and joy. They prepare for life, and combat is just a reflection of that. Rourke stood beside him. "And that is why humans will always surprise us. They do not plan to be dangerous. They simply are alive. And in that, they become formidable." Outside, Lena leaped from one platform to another with ease, her friends cheering. Milo shouted from behind, laughing nervously, and Lena only smiled. Every movement, instinctive and playful, showed what humans could achieve naturally. The aliens understood it now. Humans did not need training to be extraordinary. They were extraordinary because they lived fully, without fear, without hesitation, and without limits. Voss closed his report and sent it to Central Command. "Humans prepare for life," he said aloud. "Combat is merely where their preparation becomes visible. Every human shows potential beyond measurement, and we must respect it." Lena landed safely on the ground and looked at Milo. "See? Nothing to worry about." Milo shook his head, smiling. "You just changed how they see an entire species." She laughed softly. "Then maybe humans are better at life than they think, and we do not even try." The aliens continued their observation, but now with awe. They had witnessed a human living fully and realized that the true strength of humanity lay not in training, weapons, or plans, but in the courage to move, to try, and to live. That was the final lesson, and it changed everything. Humans had shown their power without lifting a single weapon, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again.